Hello, everyone, and welcome to Radical Thinker, the place where we challenge Western media narratives and perspectives. Today is Wednesday, April 22, and we are entering day 54 of the American and Israeli war imposed on the Islamic Republic of Iran. In the end, it seems that we are not going to see another round of negotiations taking place in Islamabad in the following days. The new round of negotiations were supposed to take place last evening, or if not last evening, probably today. It seems that this is not going to happen because the Iranian delegation didn't leave Tehran for Islamabad, and according to the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Sayed Abbas Araghchi, blockading Iranian ports is an act of war and thus a violation of the ceasefire. Striking a commercial vessel and taking its crew hostage is an even greater violation. Iran knows how to neutralize restrictions, how to defend its interests, and how to resist bullying. Araghchi's statement was enforced by the spokesperson of the Iranian Foreign Ministry, Mr. Ismail Baghei, who said that the American diplomats' claims are inconsistent with their field behavior and they are aiming to influence public opinion. This means that what they are discussing during a negotiation session with Iran is not what they are telling when they go in front of the American media. In the end, it seems, although the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, gave the green light for the negotiating team to go to Islamabad, it seems that in the end, after internal consultations, the Iranians have decided not to go simply because they don't want to passively accept the naval blockade which was imposed by Donald Trump on them, and they are saying that if a new round of negotiations should take place, first the Americans should close the naval blockade and they should stop trying to have this type of aggressive behavior towards Iran, because in the current context, the Iranians seem not to be willing to negotiate or to have further direct or indirect meetings with the American delegation. Yesterday evening was also the end of the ceasefire announced by Donald Trump 2 weeks ago. And as soon as the deadline was ending, Donald Trump posted again on social truth, and he said that he is going to extend the ceasefire until the Iranian leadership come to the negotiating table. This is a big concession, I would say, from Donald Trump for him to say such a thing, because now the internet is full of those taco jokes with Donald Trump always backing down in the last moment. Now, when the Iranians refused to attend the new round of negotiations in Islamabad, Donald Trump was forced to back down. He is continuing with his naval blockade, but he doesn't seem to be willing, at least for the next couple of days, to restart the fighting. Therefore, he says that he's going to extend the ceasefire. But the funny thing is that no one has asked the Iranian side if they also want to extend the ceasefire, because maybe, who knows, the Iranians could have different plans when it comes to this ceasefire and to the resumption of the hostilities. Donald Trump was also claiming yesterday that Iran is collapsing financially, that they want now to have the Strait of Hormuz opened. This is a paradoxical situation, the one in which we are now. Donald Trump is saying that he is refusing to let Iran open the Strait of Hormuz, when some weeks ago Donald Trump was screaming literally in written form on Truth Social at the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. So we are in an upside game. It's crazy what happens and how Donald Trump is changing from one day to the other. He's also saying that Iran is losing $500 million a day, and that the economic situation in Iran in a couple of weeks will become very, very hard. I honestly don't think that this naval blockade, although for sure it's hurting Iranian economy, I don't think that it's hurting the Iranian economy to a certain extent that it really makes life very, very hard in Iran, at least for now. I'm sure that they have already developed countermeasures and they have other ways of transporting and selling their oil through other means, probably to other waterways, or who knows. For sure, they have been planning for this for a couple of years, the same way they have been planning for the military answer when the Americans started this war in late February. And also regarding the Strait, an American senator, Chris Murphy, he is saying that we, the Americans, are spending billions to keep our navy in the Strait to fecklessly fail to open a waterway that wasn't closed until Trump's pointless war of choice closed it. So it seems that even the American politicians start gradually to understand how ridiculous and crazy this situation is and how useless this war is for the Americans. Okay, it has a strategic value for the Israeli side, and the Israelis have been very influential, and through their schemes and through their influence and through their intelligence services, they managed to convince Donald Trump to wage war against Iran. But for the United States, this war doesn't bring any added value. On contrary, it creates a lot of problems, and it also puts a lot of pressure on the American economy, leading to expenses which are very, very high in order to keep military forces and especially the Navy in the Persian Gulf. But this fact doesn't seem to impress Donald Trump, who is doubling down. We are seeing certain military sources saying that the USS George Walter Bush aircraft carrier will arrive in the Arabian Sea in the next days. Although Donald Trump is talking about an extension of the ceasefire, we are seeing that he's doing this just in order to gain time for more US Navy vessels and for more American Marines to come to the Middle East in order to take part in the next phase of the war against Iran. And even if the Americans are determined to impose a naval blockade, it seems that they still have limitation. They face a lot of hardships when it comes to really closing completely the Strait of Hormuz, because at least 26 Iranian Shadow Fleet vessels have already bypassed the US blockade. They have continued to operate since the United States implemented the terrorist blockade on April 14th. According to Lloyd's List Intelligence, more than 10 ships have crossed the blockade line since its expansion last week, including 11 tankers carrying Iranian cargo that departed from the Persian Gulf or the Gulf of Oman since 14th of April. A Greek-owned bulk carrier that left an Iranian port on 15 April also crossed the blockade line on 19th of April. 6 ships carrying approximately 10.7 million barrels of Iranian oil bypassed the blockade, generating estimated revenues of around $910 million. So almost $1 billion was made by Iran since the naval blockade through the shipment of oil. If this is how the Iranian economy is collapsing, I think the Iranian leadership is really ready to continue with this so-called collapse if they manage to make like $1 billion from oil shipments during a naval blockade. I think they will continue like this, and they don't really care about the American blockade, and probably they are already ready, and it seems that they are ready and willing to engage in a new round of warfare against the Americans. Even last evening I saw some popular gatherings in Iran, and during these gatherings the Revolutionary Guards showcased for the Iranian public some ballistic missiles. I think they showed the Khorramshahr 4, which was extensively used in the first round of the war. One Indian oil tanker called Sanmar Herald, which was fired upon by the boats of the Revolutionary Guards last Sunday. This ship has been the victim of a cryptocurrency scam. According to reports, the ship was contacted by an Indian man claiming to represent the navy of the IRGC. The captain then transferred a large amount of USDT and was granted the right of passage. When the ship reached the Strait of Hormuz, it was fired upon by the actual navy of the IRGC, which had not issued any permission for the ship to pass. But the most funny thing is not the cryptocurrency scam itself, is the fact that the Indians on this ship, they thought they are talking with another Indian who was a representative of the IRGC. I mean, this is really crazy. So the Indians are scamming among themselves in the Strait of Hormuz, and in the end their oil tankers get shot at by the Revolutionary Guards when they try to illegally cross the Strait of Hormuz during wartime. I mean, you cannot make this shit up. This is really funny story. I think it's even funnier than the daily posts coming from Donald Trump. In Lebanon, the ceasefire is barely holding, and the Hezbollah resistance Resistance movement has decided that from now on will respond to all Israeli ceasefire violations and will not allow the post-2024 situation to continue. So if in 2024, after the previous war, they agreed to a ceasefire, which was broken for hundreds of times by Israel, at that time Hezbollah decided not to answer, and they allowed for the Lebanese state to show that it can take the matters into its own hands and that the Lebanese army can try at least to protect the soil of Lebanon, which of course didn't happen. And after more than 1 year and a half, Hezbollah decided that enough, it's enough, and they restarted the hostilities with Israel. And now, even if we have a temporary ceasefire, the situation will be different. And it's interesting that Hezbollah has decided this time not to be passive, and they are going to respond on a daily basis to Israel if the Israeli forces are going to break in any shape or form this ceasefire. It's a different tactic, and I think it shows that not only Hezbollah has been very effective in this war, but also that they have sufficient military power and military technology to be able to continue to respond to further Israeli aggressions. This clarifies for everyone that Hezbollah is still a very capable fighting force, and they have been regrouping, rearming, rethinking their strategy, and they are now in a phase in which they are willing and able to respond to Israel on a daily basis. For now, these are the updates. Iran is not going to join another round of negotiations in Pakistan. The Americans doubled down on the naval blockade, but in the same time, Donald Trump talks about extending the ceasefire, somehow giving more time for the Iranian leadership to have internal discussions before sending another negotiating team to Islamabad, which I think in the current context is not going to happen. The Iranians will wait. Time flows in their favor. I think the pressure on international economy will increase faster when it comes to the naval blockade imposed by the Americans. The Iranian economy will survive, and it can endure more pain and can last longer than the effects that the naval blockade will have on international economies, especially for the Western world in the coming weeks. We are already seeing discussions in Europe about the fact that airline companies have fuel for their jets just for a couple of weeks, and after that probably many airline companies in the West will be forced to gradually scale back the number of airplanes that they are using for commercial flights, because without fuel these aircrafts cannot fly, and this will be a big hit for Western economy and especially for the airline industry overall. It will have international impacts, and also it's not only about the profits going down and about big airline companies having financial issues. It's also about the fact that without fuel, the communication lines and the transport lines will be severely limited between continents. For now, this is my update for today, April 22. If you have certain topics that you would like me to touch on, write me in the comment section of the Radical Thinker YouTube channel. If you like my content, like, subscribe, follow. Until tomorrow, I am wishing you all the best.